Hi, everyone. I'm Teri.
And I'm Ella.
Welcome to the Chasing Red Flags podcast, Let's Get Real.
Here, no topic is off limits.
And real beats perfect every time.
Welcome to the conversation.
Welcome to where you belong.
You're part of the family now, so let's get real together. Hi, Mama.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
Good. How are you? You look really pretty today.
Thank you.
I'm very into what's up with the hair?
Well, I don't know. I just do this every day now because when I do my hair and my makeup, it makes me just feel like I'm ready to start the day better.
No, I know, but you're wearing it back. You don't wear it back.
It's a claw clip.
Oh, what's a claw
back here?
Oh, that just so you know, claw clips were invented when I was a kid.
What were they called?
I actually don't know.
Claw clip.
Maybe a claw clip, but I never think of them as a name.
Love it. So it gives me a little more elevation to my outfit.
How many colors of claw clips do you have?
Probably 6. I should probably get more. I need a bigger collection.
You don't need more. I think you're good.
All right. Well, before we dive in, we just want to say thank you all so much for being here. Please subscribe to the Chasing Red Flags podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please share, rate, and review this episode. We actually read all of the reviews, and it's what keeps us going. So thank you so much for always letting us be our true, authentic selves. And yay, here we go.
Here we go.
So today we are really excited to dig into the topic of self-defense and personal safety, something that's always on our minds, especially given my personal drink experience and being drugged at a bar, traveling abroad, and just running outside, and the overall safety of a 21-year-old girl. And so as I'm spending my own time as an adult now, I'm just really excited for this topic.
I'm excited too. If you've ever felt off on a walk home at night, been anxious walking in a parking lot alone, or worse, had a situation where you were in physical danger or harm, our guest has so much knowledge to help you. David Heineman has over 30 years of experience with martial arts, spent years traveling in the country educating college students about sexual assault and domestic violence, and has worked with countless law enforcement agencies. He's the go-to guy to help you prepare for life's worst-case scenarios.
So, David, welcome to the Chasing Red Flags podcast. Let's get real. Thank you so much for being here.
You just had a baby. I can't wait to hear about it. Tell me everything. How's being a new dad?
It's a cool feeling. It's definitely different. Definitely difficult figuring out the scheduling a little bit. But we've got a good hand on it. My wife's been a rock star. So I've been back at work full time. She's still got another month until she has to go back to work. So she's kind of been holding down the fort, taking care of the night shift.
Is he sleeping at night?
Whatnot, but we're getting like 6 hours right now, so it's good.
That's not bad.
At the beginning, because he was circumcised at the beginning.
Right.
Sorry for the details, but you have to keep it. You have to keep it clean. So like every 2 hours, we had to wake up and clean him and feed him. So it was definitely more of a hassle at the beginning. And now he's sleeping, and now he's kind of in the stage where during the day you can't put him down. He just wants to be held all day, and then at night he could care less. He passes out. So it's cool. It's definitely different. But we're excited for some trips coming up that we'll look to do together, and just kind of hanging out, looking to get him into the gym at some point and start training.
Oh my
God.
God.
I brought him over there this morning to hang out with, we had our fighters training this morning. So he was there with me this morning, kind of just watching, and was definitely a lot more alert than I thought he would be, but he was definitely kind of watching the guys fight a little bit. So
well, and now you need to have some self-defense on him peeing on you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's a whole different kind of self-defense.
It is. And that has happened more than once. So,
all right.
But it's cool. It's cool.
Well, congratulations. I basically, try to get
you.
pictures from you every 2 weeks. So I love it.
I know you do.
Yes. Yeah. That's going to continue forever.
That's fine. I got plenty of pictures, so you're good.
All right. So take us back. Self-defense has been a passion of yours since college and maybe even before. Tell us about your college experience and why women's self-defense in particular has become so important to you.
Yeah, it's like you said, it started before. I was in high school. I had a mom and daughter that I had been training with. Not the mom didn't train with us. The daughter and I had come up with the ranks together, but they were putting together women's self-defense classes. So they had asked me at one point to come in and be the person that was dressed up in, we call it the bug suit. So it's fully padded. And essentially I just come in for like the last portion, like the last hour or so of the day. So that they can kind of go full contact on me. So I just saw it as a cool opportunity. I was a high school kid, so I didn't really think much about it. It's like, okay, here I am, a guy with all these lovely ladies in a room. Like, yeah, I'll be the tough bad guy, whatever. Yeah, so I was like, okay, it's cool. It's a fun moment. But there was a moment in one of those classes where, and there was usually two or three of us, and we would rotate out. So I would get beat up for a round or two, jump out, because the suit, it's not so much the impact that bothers you, it gets very hot in that suit. So it's like you need a breather to kind of get your breath back. But at one point, I stepped into the classroom, and as I walked in, one of the women, one of the ladies there broke down, just started sobbing and crying. And so the daughter pulled me aside and said, "Hey, you need to go into the other room. We're going to switch you guys out," because something about my presence triggered her. And again, high school, didn't think twice about it, was like, whatever, but it planted a seed. And then so fast forward, I get to college. And my freshman year, we had a rape that was reported pretty early on in the semester that had happened near one of the bars. It wasn't on campus. It was essentially across the street from our campus.
Okay.
But because it was on campus, it's not the school's problem. So they didn't do anything about it. And then
Where did you go to college?
I went to Drake University
Okay.
in Des Moines.
Okay.
So I had reached out to I'm pretty sure I reached out to the president of the university. I reached out to a bunch of different individuals, essentially offering my services, saying, "Hey, we heard this happen. Obviously, everyone's going to hear about it." I said, "I want to run something for the ladies. Is this something I could do?" And they kind of shut me down more so because of like, "Oh, well, we have security and they run their own programs. And then when freshmen come in, we have those conversations, blah, blah, blah." So it's kind of like, "We got it handled.
Right.
Don't worry about it." Well, I found out who she was. Small school, I can find you. So I found out who she was. I was able to get a hold of her. I talked with her, and I offered, like, "Would you like me to teach you some stuff?" And nonetheless, I worked with her. And then that turned into her wanting to work with some of her friends. And then that turned into some more friends. And then I got in with some of the feminist groups on campus. And then it was like every couple months, the feminist groups and any of their friends would come over and we would just kind of work on this stuff. And so I started teaching those pretty much throughout college. My junior and senior year of college, I was an RA. So in addition to teaching the self-defense, I was also now an advocate for kids that had issues going on. Drinking, lonely, breakups, whatever. I'm a resource for whatever you need.
It's amazing.
But a lot of that turned into, we're having issues with sexual assaults. We're having issue with domestic violence. But because they didn't want to report it, we had found a loophole within the system because I, as an RA, was a mandatory reporter. At the time, our sexual assault counselor on campus was not. They are now, but they were not at the time. So she and I were working very close together to where if I had these cases, I sent them to her. She would work with them. When they were comfortable enough, they would funnel back to me and we would run the self-defense program. By the time I was a senior, like the amount of assaults that were on campus, the amount of stuff that you were seeing across college campuses and stuff was just absurd. It was terrifying. Right. And so I made the decision.
Everywhere.
I was playing sports at the time. So I retired from those sports fall of 2013 to pursue, and I had a professional contract pending at the time. I turned it down to pursue teaching women's self-defense. And at that point in the fall, I started reaching out to sororities. Well, actually, I take that back. I reached out to college campuses first, and I got shut down. Because again, we have programs, we have this, we have that. I would reach out to the sororities and it was the complete opposite. Like, "Please, we've been looking for something."
Yep. Right.
So I started working with those groups and then
you traveled to all different schools.
All over the place.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I'm driving from Chicago to Ohio, teaching, driving back the next day, driving to Iowa, coming back, driving to Michigan, coming back, going back to Iowa. And it was all over the place. And then it was because of the fact that all these chapters meet at night, that all these presentations don't start till 8, 9 o'clock. So my schedule, like for 2-3 months, I pretty much took off work and just traveled. And I think in the first like segment that I did, so like in a 2.5 to 3 month segment, I probably spoke to just over 100 sororities.
Wow.
Incredible.
In that time period, because it just blew up, and there wasn't any programs at the time
that existed.
Me Too didn't exist. None of them existed. So I was really the only one that was out there having these conversations, researching what was happening at the schools, talking about them at the schools.
Right.
But then I took it a step further and worked with counselors. I worked with lawyers. I worked with therapy clinics so that I could understand behind the scenes of like what happens after the fact, so that we could have those conversations in the chapters as well and just try to educate. So what started as a simple, "Hey, I'm going to just help out with the women's self-defense in high school," spiraled into I'm now going to kind of focus on a career program out of it.
Right.
It's amazing.
So for rain, we talk about rain a lot. We're on a safety committee together. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men report that they were sexually assaulted on college campuses, and only 20% report to police. That's just a staggering and terrifying statistic.
And I wouldn't even make that accurate either. Because again, you're going based off, like, those percentages are based off people that actually report. And I know I posted a video recently. I know I copied it from someone else that had posted it.
Yep.
But the funny part is I asked those same questions before I even ever stumbled upon that video. And you would get the same results every single time. In a group of 300 girls, maybe 5 are sitting of like, oh yeah, I don't know anyone. But then by the time you do it all down, like, you may have 200 girls that stand up like, yep, we know somebody. And then you have 1 or 2 that reported it.
It's crazy.
And it's absolutely absurd. And so like when people visually see that, you're like, yeah, these statistics are way off. But all those statistics are based off those 2, 3, 4, 5 ladies that are still standing compared to like the 200 that know someone, but they didn't want to take it forward and report.
So what needs to be
it's
done?
It's absolutely staggering.
What needs to be done to make sure that people can report more and feel comfortable reporting?
I think a lot of it is things that, unfortunately, and I'm very harsh, I try to be as realistic as possible. I don't see a lot of it changing because a lot of the problems stem from a societal opinion on the matter. It's not like we're dealing with a bunch of laws regarding it. Obviously, laws are a factor to some extent. They've gotten better. But it's more so, how are my friends going to react? How is my husband going to react? How is my parents going to react? How is everyone going to take it? And they're terrified of those reactions. Because again, it got to the point with these presentations, and there was a couple, I call them checkpoints. There was a couple checkpoints throughout my tours where I had some students of mine that had been assaulted. I had one girl that was 11 at the time that had been assaulted, and she was a student of mine. And I had 2 good friends that were very close to me that were assaulted while I was on tour. And so I kind of ramped up my presentations because I couldn't get to them. I couldn't help them. I couldn't help them deal with what they were going through. And so as a result, I didn't take it out on my groups, but I definitely kind of brought the intensity up. So I would have people walking out crying. I had lines of people coming up afterwards to talk with me about either their stories or wanting to kind of have the worst conversation, in my opinion, which is I have to tell them that what they are thinking is in fact true. And yes, you were assaulted or you were raped, or, yes, that's considered rape. And I'm sorry you had to go through that because is this what it is? Is this what happened? Yeah. But a lot of those girls were like, yeah, I didn't report it because I didn't want my boyfriend to get mad. I didn't know how my parents would think. I had some girls that reported it and their friends turned their backs on them because it was like a guy within the friends group that did it.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the friends would be like, well, that can't happen. And you're just, causing problems, whatever. So a lot of people risk losing their life. And if you read up on like the Brock Turner case, I'm blanking on her name, but if you read her book that she came out with, she spent about 2 or 3 years of putting her life on hold to deal with that case. I had a guy at my school that was assaulted by a fraternity brother, and I became very good friends with him, and he spent about 2 to 4 years of his life on hold.
It takes over,
hitting rock bottom, trying to deal with the case, and he reported it.
Right.
So,
it's not easy.
I think the outcome is what a lot of people. No, no matter what choice, if I don't talk about it, I have to deal with it. If I do talk about it, I got to deal with talking it in front of people. It's going public. What if it doesn't go through? What are people going to think of me? Like there's so much. And I think that's where the problem is. But I don't think there's a straight answer way to fix that.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no.
Because it's more just people's opinions.
It's society.
Yes, it is just society. Yeah. Well, as you know, I am a college student, and I've kind of been in the college life for a while. And I will say that there are some times, like late at night, when I'm at the bar, and I'm just like done. And I just want to go home, and I just want to get in bed and make a snack and just be done for the night. But a lot of my friends won't want to leave the bar. So I'm lucky enough to feel comfortable and safe enough to walk home from the bar. It's like a 6 or 7 minute walk from where I live. But if there is somebody that is following me in a situation like that, what do I do? Because I'm not going to lie, I don't know.
Yeah, that anytime someone's following you, it's always a tricky because, and I always feel bad if I'm walking behind you. Like if I'm walking back to my car after the gym and I can tell the person in front of me is nervous as hell. And sometimes I'll purposely even slow down just to kind of give us some more space because I know I'm making you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there's a few things. One, obviously, you have to determine if this person is in fact following you. So we'll suggest either picking up your pace or changing your pace a little bit. Like if suddenly you slow down and they slow down, or you speed up and they speed up, that's a tell. If I cross the street and they cross the street, if I take a random turn and they take the same turn, like there's ways to be like, okay, this person is in fact following me.
Yeah.
Then obviously we have to deal with it. I always encourage people to acknowledge them. And it doesn't have to
Oh,
be any verbal. It could just literally be I glance over my shoulder and I look back, and it's just a simple acknowledgement. And all that
Interesting.
says is you're aware, or I'm aware that you're aware of me.
Yeah.
So now if I do anything to change my pace to get closer, I have to be cautious of the fact that she's aware of me. She's not distracted. She clearly saw me. I've seen a lot of things where people will actually like videotape themselves or have their phone up, like they're on their phone, but really they're using the reverse camera to look behind them. So like
Yep.
you can use that to kind of monitor it.
Okay.
But once you've kind of acknowledged them, and you can even just say hi, oh, hey, good evening, and just be polite. Again, it's always a double-edged sword, because that acknowledgement or
Yep.
verbally acknowledging someone could always backfire against you. But more times than not, to me, that comes across as confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That comes across as someone that's aware of what's going on. They're confident what's going on. So I always encourage people, acknowledge them. And then from there, it's kind of just like a waiting game until you feel the need to do something. Like if you have deemed the fact that this person's following you, you've acknowledged them, they're continuously approaching you, I wouldn't recommend going home. I'd recommend walking into a public space. Like if you're walking back to a bar, shoot into a McDonald's, shoot into,
Okay.
there's always a pizza place on college campuses that are open, shoot in somewhere to order food or whatever. Oh shit, I forgot something, and turn and walk back to the bar.
Yep.
Like
Got it.
simple things like that
Okay.
you can change and turn the pace around. And again, you're going back to a public setting. And then if in the process of any of that, this person decides to get physical with you or attempt to get physical, you're going to have to deal with it.
Okay.
And you can have stuff on you, which I always recommend.
we're going to get into that. I have lots
know
of
how to-
questions.
Yeah, know how to throw some strikes and whatnot. But, the beginning is acknowledge or determine if they're following
Okay.
you, acknowledge them, get to somewhere safe if they are.
Okay.
Like that's the steps. Don't go home. People are like, oh, I just got to quickly get back to my apartment. It's like, well, you're
Don't
literally
go
walking
home. They
this
know.
person back to where you live.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and I had a friend of mine that taught me years ago, and he's a big preacher on this because his wife had an instance where she was walking out of a Walmart and realized that somebody who was following her in the store was now waiting for her in the parking lot, and she did I left my keys back in the
Yep.
store, and she turned and walked in and actually stopped another woman from going out who also said, yeah, that guy was following me in the store too. And they both kind of waited until he left. So that's a simple, forgot my phone, forgot this, walk back in, hang out for a little bit. I understand. Okay. You're tired.
Okay.
Sit for another 5 minutes and wait.
Yeah.
Got it. So next, following up with that, you teach self-defense classes.
Yes.
If someone gets close enough to grab you, what's your one go-to move?
For me personally, depending on how, a headbutt's always a good option. Like if you're close enough and I can drive my forehead into your face, it's always a good option because it catches people off guard.
And if you're a woman, and that is
if you're a
does
woman,
not feel like
Listen, I could probably do
power-
that. I just don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah. Everyone's always like hesitant about it, but then when you train and you like accidentally take a headbutt, you're like, that sucks. And you're like, yeah, but it would be awesome in full contact. A power slap's always a good option, like open hands as hard as you can across the face, like right near the jawline. Because that's where you're going to start getting like the knockout. Again, so like if my hand is this way, I want to actually have my hand extended so
Okay.
that I have the chance of like hitting as much of the face as possible. I wind up and I just
Okay.
whip that hand across your face.
So
as
a
hard as, like
horizontal
trying
slap.
to hit my palm. Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And trying to get your palm across the face. That's
Got it.
usually like a go-to. We call it the power slap. You load up on that arm, rock somebody with it. You'll easily put them down.
I've always wanted to
obviously, if you know
slap
how to
someone.
punch, you can throw a punch. Heel palms are good. Hammer fists are good. Any strike straight to the face. Essentially, it's the point of like if someone's getting physical with you, and let's say it's under the assumption that you've tried to de-escalate. I've tried to walk away. I've tried to create space, and none of it's working. I want to throw the first shot for sure, because I don't want to wait until they start hitting me. On the flip side, if they come up and they surprise you and they grab you, then I'm unloading on you. I'm doing whatever I need to do until those grips are off and you've backed off.
Got
But
it.
if you're continuously coming at me, then I'm going to continue hitting you, kicking you, doing what I need to do from there.
Okay.
We can go in depth and break down like targets if you want, because I know there's a lot of like, there's myths of like, where do I hit? How do I hit it? Right. For instance, the groin. The groin's a great shot, but it's not a fight finisher. People think that because you kick somebody in the nuts that they're just gonna fall down and heave over. it's going to suck, but if I'm that determined to get you, it's not guaranteed to stop me, but it is going to create a reaction. You're never going to hit somebody in the groin and not get a reaction out of it.
Okay.
But you're not always going to get somebody to drop. So we have what we call fight finishers, and you have distractions.
Okay, give
Groin
me
strike
2
is a
fight
distraction.
finishers.
Fight finisher could be anywhere around the throat, right? If I can get you sucking air. So if I punch you in the throat, if I strike you in the throat, you're sucking air. So that's going to be a fight finisher. It's also a chance of like breaking the throat if you hit hard enough. Like you could do some serious damage there, right? Another one is hitting in the eyes. Now I'm not talking the actual eyeballs, but if I hit hard enough around the orbital bone, and again, it doesn't take much to crack it, but when I damage the orbital bone, the whole eye swells shut. I can't fight that. You poke my eye, eventually I'm going to be able to open my eyes. You swell my eye shut, I'm not able to do that. So like a hard hit to the around the eye, you swell it up.
With
that
a
gives
closed
me time to grab
fist.
pepper spray, closed fist.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, even heel palm. I can hit you with the heel palm hard enough and it could still work. Not the power slap. No.
Okay. I'm going to practice on Ella later.
But
Okay. Interesting.
Perfect.
Maybe not perfect. Okay.
We'll see.
Okay, but when we're in public, how do we, I mean, as women, but I guess in general, as anybody just walking on the street, how do you make yourselves like the least attractive target?
I always have fun with this one, and I tell people, don't be Legally Blonde, whatever her character's name is at the beginning of the movie where she gets broken up and she's walking. Elle Woods, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't be Elle Woods at the beginning of the movie, right? So when when she gets broken up, like she's in high heels, she's in a dress, she's sobbing. Like, that is your definition of a target because she's not in the proper like in heels. It's very hard to move, so you're not in a good physical position to fight back. She's clearly distracted. She's looking down. She's emotional. Like you're giving all the signs to anyone that's looking at her like, yep, you're an easy target because you're not going to be putting up a good fight. So don't be that in public. And again, we can't always control how our emotions are. But
and sometimes we wear
if
heels.
I'm in public. Yeah, and exactly. Yeah. So again, it's one of those, the biggest thing is your awareness. People have a tendency of like, oh, this person's giving me the creeps. I'm just going to kind of do this and pretend like I'm busy and the person will leave me alone. And all that says is you're distracted. So the first thing is don't be distracted.
Okay.
Acknowledge the people around you.
Don't be looking at your phone.
Give them little nods. Exactly. Head up. Smile at people that walk by. Say hello or afternoon. Acknowledge them. Have your shoulders up. Have your chest out. Like have that confidence in your walk and walk confidently. Don't look around like you're lost, even if you are. Don't let that come across as I have no idea where I'm going. So have that confidence. And again, just that demeanor doesn't mean that you're not going to be a target at all, but it definitely drops you down to the bottom of the totem pole compared to the Elle Woods that's next to you. And I think that's what people are looking for is they're looking for people. Again, as a bad guy, I have to make a judgment call.
Yeah.
Are you going to give me a hard time? Everyone's going to fight back to some extent, but how much are you willing to fight back? I don't think you're going to fight back that hard.
Yeah.
That person walking out of the store that just looks like she's not to be messed with because of everything that she's presenting herself, I'm not going to touch her.
That's a great way to look at it.
You want to come.
I like that.
Yeah, like we always say, tough targets don't get picked. So come across as someone that's not to be messed with. Like it's going to be for you individually, but I'm sure you've all walked by someone, male or female, that you're like, yeah, I would never mess with that person.
Yeah.
So that whatever that demeanor is, you need to do the same thing when you're out in public, especially if we're talking about walking back to your dorm or your apartment at night and you're by yourself. That is how you need to present yourself.
Okay.
Just have that confidence.
All right.
So can you share some safety tips with us? Like those of us that like to go on long runs or walks. I walk, Ella runs. What precautions should we be taking in that environment?
Can I just add really quickly that my mother walks the same route every single day. So we do talk about the fact that if there were a serial
I don't
killer,
even vary a street.
they would be able to find her and track her down in probably a day and a half, knowing the fact that she walks the same route every single day.
So I'll tell you a quick story.
Okay.
When I first started doing the college presentation, so again, this was in between 2013 and 2015 is when I was doing most of my presentations. So like Instagram had just like really taken off. Twitter was still a big thing at the time.
Okay.
I was able to walk into any one of the sororities, and I would do this with a few of them, and I would pick you, for instance, ahead of time. I would just find the sorority online. I would find a girl within the sorority, and I would backtrack your schedule for a few days. And then when I would go there, I would call it. I'm like, is so-and-so in this room? And I would go back and I would tell you where you're at or what you're doing because that's what everyone was posting at the time. And you don't see it as much now. But it's always like going to the gym and then the theater and then this and then that.
Yeah.
And I would able to backtrack everyone's schedule, and it's easy. It is so easy to find
That's
stuff online
scary.
about people. And so it definitely, like, I had to obviously really cut into something right after, because if I just did that and then just went on with like a casual conversation, I'd be like the biggest creep running those presentations. I had to have a purpose with it, but it shows how dangerous it is to get into a routine. That being said, I also do the same thing. I'm at the gym the same time every day. I go to work the same time every day. I drive the same path every day. I do everything the same. But I'm extremely aware of who's there. And I know the people that are typically at the gym. You know, if I'm just using my gym schedule, I know the same people that are there. But if someone different comes in, it immediately sparks my attention. So
situational awareness.
Exactly. So if you're walking the same path every day, that's fine. But you also then need to be able to tell me which cars are in the parking lot when you get there. And if there's a different car or someone that's not typically there, because I'm sure you'll see more or less the same people. Absolutely. Maybe not every day.
Yep.
But I'm sure more times you've seen the same people. And if all of a sudden someone different comes up, I'm going to make a mental note. And now if I'm doing other things and I'm seeing that person in other places, that is a big red flag. And that's something I have to start paying attention to. Or if I'm getting different behaviors from this person, or if you do decide to change up your schedule and now this person is coming with you at the same times that you're running and you're changing up your running schedule, it's another thing to pay attention to. But if you're doing the same thing every day and you see the same people every day, those aren't red flags. You guys all have, you're all on the same schedule. That's what works for you. Go be it. But you just need to pay attention for those variables that randomly will pop in and out. But yeah, I mean, situational awareness is huge. I always tell people, if you're running down a path or walking down a path, let's say forest preserve, stick to the middle until other people come by. You can veer off to the edge, but at least in the middle, I've got enough space on either side to react if someone comes, rather than me hugging one side.
Oh yeah.
I encourage people, try not to run dusk and dawn. Again, schedules, I get it. I'm up at 4 a.m. working out, so I understand the need to, depending on your schedules. That just means you're going to have to be more vigilant, because that is a prime time. Pay attention to those variables. Any person that walks by, again, acknowledge them, because you're going to tell right away based off their body language the type of person that they are.
Yeah.
Good morning. And if they all of a sudden cut around and they come back to you, it's things to pay attention to. Which cars were in the parking lot when you left, which cars are in the parking lot when you get there, and have something on you. Now, my rules for carrying something, and this varies depending on what you're comfortable with. I carry pepper spray, a firearm, and a blade everywhere I go. If I don't have all three of those, I have at least one of them. But I know how to fight, so I'm not dependent on any of them.
That's true.
And that's my big thing, is I don't want people to just carry pepper spray, because if you get caught off guard, if I can't deploy it, if it fails, I'm 100% dependent on my ability to fight. So if you carry something, I encourage you to know somewhat of training to be able to back up. And then the other thing is that it makes you less dependent on those items. Okay. So have something that you can carry, stay off your phones while you're running, and always have an ear open. Like, there's no reason you should be running with both ears closed. Now, I know they have like the headphones that you can wear that you can hear the noise on.
Right.
Take one headphone out still.
Okay.
I'm a walking red flag.
Because again,
that's everything you have said. This woman
I have noise
is gonna get like,
headphones on.
Yeah, no.
I'm literally I'm like the perfect target. Come get me.
Don't say that.
But again, yes. Like you can. But here's the thing, though. Is like you can do. Here's what people think, though. Is like when we talk about all this stuff, it's like, well, I can't live life, and you can. You can do all those things out there,
but you can
and
do it.
Nothing's ever going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But you can also do all those things, and something does happen. I've been training my entire life. I could walk to my car and somebody shoots me in the back of the head, and I never see it coming.
Right.
And they're like, "Well, he didn't know what he was doing." It's like, well, the dude's been training 30 years. He should know what he's doing.
Exactly.
Caught off guard is caught off guard. You know, so people have to take that with a grain of salt. There's just things that we can do to
make ourselves safer.
Everyone starts up here as a target, and then depending on decisions, you either go lower on the target or you stay where you are. And predators are looking for up here. Right. The tougher you are, they're not going to mess with you. So if you want to be better, you can do this. If you want to risk it, like, there's risks to it. Doesn't mean it's wrong, but it's risky.
And for runners and walkers, well, more runners, there is this incredible app that we both know about called Running Mate, where you can get almost like a buddy to run with, which is incredible. It's
so brilliant.
The same price as going to an exercise class. So
and there's so many.
For a new town, if you go to a new town and you're like, I don't know this area, I'm not comfortable running, you could literally go on the app and get someone who's vetted to run with you, which I think is amazing.
Correct.
There's all sorts of ways.
And I'd love to see I'm working with a company right now on kind of like a Waze app almost, but for crime.
Yep. Wow.
But it's awesome to see that there's so many companies out there, and I don't view it as competition in my eyes. You know, I get it from a
Yeah.
business perspective. Everyone's going to be like, well, this is why ours is better. But in my opinion, 10 years ago when I started teaching and stuff, none of that existed.
Right.
None of that stuff was out there. So now the fact that like I have an option of a dozen different apps that I can use for safety, who cares?
amazing.
Pick one and use it.
Absolutely.
You know, it's awesome that those resources are out there, but you got to use them.
Yeah.
I also never used to carry a firearm until COVID hit.
Right.
And once I saw the spike in violence, I'm like, I'm not going anywhere without it. You know, it's I take what's happening. I accept the fact that this is a new reality. I adapt and I move on. You know, school shootings. You got to accept the fact that as terrifying as they are, that is a new reality. Every school year, there's going to be at least one shooting within the first week. So that's a new reality now. We got to make those adaptations, and we just have to move on.
It's very, very sad as a parent
And scary.
that is in our children's reality.
I mean, I literally have a backpack. I have 2 or 3 different backpacks here with armor plates in them for school.
That's
That we've been
terrifying.
testing and taken to the range and putting rounds through them to see how well they hold up against AR rounds versus handguns and stuff. And that's just a new reality. Like when my kid goes to school, he's going to have that plate with him, and it's sad. But again, in my eyes, instead of sitting here complaining about what needs to be changed or what needs to do or stop doing this or we need to cancel guns or whatever, it's just here's the reality.
Be
Yeah.
proactive.
This is what's happening. It's not gonna change in the next 10 years. So you might as well just adapt and move on from there.
And this
Nobody
is how to
complained.
be
when I was
safe.
speaking out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, you just have to be like, this is what I need to do to be safer. So these are the adjustments I have to make.
Well, on the safety of like transportation wise, I mean, personally, I feel like I'm very I trust a lot of people very quickly, and so when I'm getting into an Uber or
A lot of college students
yes,
do.
and I hate to admit that that's who I am, but I just like to trust people. I think the best in everybody. So when I'm hopping into an Uber by myself, where is the best place that I can like be sitting, or like what can I be doing if I'm alone in a transportation like that?
So I want to flip it back to you two first and hear your opinions. Because I don't know if you noticed, I put up a poll right after you sent me these questions.
I did
put up a
notice.
poll on Instagram. And I reached out to a few of the guys that I train with, and we all pretty much had the same opinion, minus half of us were on one seat, half of us were on the other seat. But
Okay.
once we talked it out, we're like, God, it makes sense. So I want to hear your opinions.
Okay.
Where would you sit? By yourself? in
Don't
an Uber,
answer the way
and
I
why?
answer. Block your ears. So
Oh,
I
no.
think I would sit behind the driver because then he couldn't lean over and grab me diagonally if he was like turning around. That's just in my head. Where would you sit?
I was, and I'm probably totally wrong, but I was the opposite. I want to be sitting diagonal from the driver,
you can see him?
so I can see him at all times.
Okay. Which one of us is right?
So that's you both are, but they both have pros and cons. So when I talk to the guys again right away, they were one side and half of them were the other side.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we were all the same on the front seat. The front seat is the most advantageous for you
Oh.
because I'm going to have reaction time. I can see what's going on. I have full ability to hit you and do all this stuff.
Sit in the front seat with
But
the Uber driver.
So does the driver.
Exactly.
So it's
Right.
one of those
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
50-50.
it's a 50-50 in the front.
Okay.
You have the most options for stuff that I can do. I can hit you, I can grab you, I can do anything I want. I can exit the vehicle. There's no child lock, so I can get out. So I have the most advantages in the front and the same time the most disadvantages in the front because they have the exact same thing. So yeah, it's 50-50.
Okay.
Behind the driver's side, yes, it's harder for them to physically reach you. I can get out of the door,
Right.
right? My only complaint was getting out of the door. Their door is right there too. So if they get out faster and push the door closed, you're trapped in the door. So
Okay.
like there's that risk. At the same time, I can't see their hands. And that's a big factor. So I
Right.
can't see what they have going on. I can't see
Oh.
what they're drawing. I can't see if they're dealing with anything. I can't see what the car's doing. I can't see the speed that they're going. Sometimes I can't see the GPS, so I don't know what
Yeah.
they're technically driving me. So my views are limited, but it does buy me time to fight. I prefer the passenger side. Now, again, this is also because of my experience. It
You win.
buys me the most reactionary time as
She
a
wins.
fighter because if you start reaching for me, I can use my feet to post up on the seat and put myself back.
That
to my
is what
door,
I was thinking.
give myself distance. I can draw from there, though when we talk to some of our other instructors, if they also draw, you're both just pointing at each other, firing until one of you drops. So it's not a good spot necessarily if they draw at the same time. That being
Yeah.
said, I also have a direct line of sight of what you're doing. So I can see if your hands are doing something. I can see where the car's taking me. I'm also on the opposite side of the car. So if I'm able to get out of the door, the driver has to run around the car to get to me.
Okay.
So they both have ups and downs. I personally would prefer behind the passenger.
I've changed my
But
mind.
again, that's with my fight experience.
Ella likes
But
to
they're
win.
not wrong. It's again, yeah.
I like
think
to
it's
be
just-
right.
I'm
you
rarely
have to
wrong.
go with your boat.
I'm rarely wrong, but I will admit in this one, I actually think that I'm wrong, and I've changed my mind.
Well, both are fine.
Both are fine,
But again,
I would now sit on the
I've got
other
other
side.
guys that have just as much experience, if not more, the experience than me, and they're adamant of like, no, I would say behind the driver.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
So what if the
So
Uber
it
driver?
depends. It depends on your comfort.
Okay. So what if the Uber or Lyft or whatever driver starts asking you questions about where you're going that make you uncomfortable because they have your
Lie.
address?
Lie.
Correct. So here's the thing. Address wise, it's one thing if I'm and I tell people this, if I'm driving home,
Yep.
I'll give them like my neighbor's address. Right. So give them your neighbor's address. So because again, they're just going to drop you off and you can hang out on the drive for a second. And when they pull out, you just walk, one or two houses down with your luggage and you go into the next house. Right.
Okay.
But if you're going to like a destination, a hotel, gym, something like that, whatever, that's up to you if you want to give them the address or not. Personal questions, you either just don't answer,
Or you lie.
you make stuff up, or you lie. Yeah, just lie about it.
Yep.
Don't you
say-
can give them your first
yeah.
name. Yeah, you can give them your first name. I don't think there's anything wrong with giving them your first name. But what are you doing out here? And again, it depends. Like when my wife's with me, I'll usually answer the questions in the Uber.
Yeah.
I usually get on her if I'm big on her not talking when we're in the car, because a lot of times if we're just sitting there, she and I are just going to start talking and she'll just start talking about, hey, so when we go to here tonight, when we're doing this, and every time I'll be like,
you, Mom.
cut the conversations because you're handing this person
Exactly.
everything that we're doing.
Right.
You're feeding them information.
Now, if I'm in town, exactly.
talk to
it's
everyone.
different. Like if I'm in town for a fight, which is fine. It's fine. But I'm like, whatever you say, someone else is picking up, and I don't know who's around me. And I saw a post the other day, and it's like, if you're not comfortable wearing those details on a T-shirt, don't say them out loud because you have no idea who's picking it up. And I don't want to just be spewing all this
that's a
information.
great
Now, again,
saying.
if I'm in town for a fight and I'm going to compete, I'm not worried. You want to come in and kidnap me at a gym filled with fighters? Be my guest.
Yeah.
It's not going to work out for you. But if it's just in town and we're going to dinner or something, like just keep the details to a minimum. Lie about what you're in town for. Like, oh nope, I'm about to see my husband or my wife, or nope, I'm meeting up with my business partner right now, or I'm meeting up with some friends. They're not going to know.
Yeah.
That being said, though, you can all. Yeah, I would just limit conversations as a whole, or at least just like what you're saying. I guess that's
And
the
never,
quick
ever,
answer for
we've
it.
learned this. Obviously, we have a very close friend who lost her daughter because she drank water in an Uber. So never, ever accept or drink anything in an Uber from a driver or that's in the back of an Uber. So now let's transition to when we're the driver and we're not the passenger.
Yeah.
I get very anxious when I'm on the highway. I'm not a good highway driver. I'm not a good driver in general, but I'm not a good highway driver.
She's
I'm not-
actually one of the worst drivers I've ever
you-
met in my
I'm a
entire
terrible
life.
driver, and I don't like driving at night. I see halos.
I offer to drive everywhere because
Are you
she's that
aggressive?
bad. Yes.
No, I don't feel like I'm nerd.
Yes.
I'm nerd. I don't like to drive next to big trucks.
But are you nervous, which turns into being aggressive?
Yes.
Yeah, possibly. And I don't. Yeah,
Possibly.
yeah.
Yes.
I'm just terrible in general. So, what do you do if you're on a highway and it seems like another car is following you? Because I always feel like there's another car following me.
So this will start the same way for like a person following you. I
Okay.
got to at least establish the fact that the car is in fact
Oh,
following
so
me,
move.
and depending on where you're driving is going to determine that. So if I'm on a highway, for instance, drop the speed. Like if you're in a
down.
60+ mile per hour road, drop it to like 40. Like
Okay.
drastically drop it.
Okay.
You'll see right away, people will start turning. If this guy drastically slows down and doesn't turn, that's a huge flag.
Yeah.
Speeding up is hard to tell because everyone's speeding on the highway. So we always say drop it back, not a little bit, like pump it back a
Drastically.
bit, and do it to a point where, again, don't pump on the brakes, but pull it back to at least 15, 20 miles under what everyone else is
Oh
doing.
yeah. See, I would
Yeah.
think
That'll get people-
speed up and move over, but you're right. If I slow down,
But everyone's going to speed up with you.
You're
Yeah.
right.
They
So
will
again,
follow
and you do it on the highway, even if I'm like, exactly. And I mean, people on the highway are so quick to pass you and honk at you if you slow down 5 miles per
Exactly.
hour. So if you drastically slow down and
a
they
big
don't
deal.
move, that's a big red flag.
Okay.
I can also get off on an exit and immediately get right back on. So
Okay.
jump down, get back on. And again, if they follow you through, again, don't stop at a gas station. Like get off and get right back on again. And if they
Oh.
follow you, that's a big red flag. If you're more in like a city area or a suburban area, I'm going to start taking random turns, but it's going to be the same turn. So I'm going to take like 4 left turns and just see that, like, just take a left at a street, take a left at the next street, take a left at the next street. If they're still following you and it's random turns, it's a big red flag. Other one is I can take a couple U-turns.
And then
Take a
call
U-turn,
911?
drive, take another U-turn. So once I've determined it, get on the phone right away.
Yeah.
Get on the phone with 911, say, I have a car that's following me. I've tried to lose them. They're still following me. They're staying close to me. And then you want to drive, if you can drive to a police station, drive straight there and just say, yep, especially if it's like, I know where all the police departments are here. So I would just start making my way to the police department.
Yeah.
And just tell them, like, I'm on the way to this police station. This car's still behind me. Here's the details that I can see from my mirror. If that's not an option, go to like a Walmart, a Target, somewhere that's public, that's typically open later and you know is going to be full of people, and park close to the entrance and just park the car.
Okay.
And because, again, you're in a public setting, don't park way off in the back, but park as close as you can. Stay on the phone with 911. Keep the doors locked. Don't engage. So even if the person cuts you off, whether it's a highway, the side roads, I never want to get out of the car and disengage. You are inside a giant metal box. Stay in it. Lock the doors. Keep the windows rolled up. Get on the phone with the police. Document whatever you can. Always give yourself enough space to drive around a vehicle. So if they pump their brakes in front of you and you pump the brakes, maybe back up a little bit, but give yourself room that I can drive around if I need to. If that means driving off the sidewalk, driving down into the ditch a little bit, whatever you need to do to get out of there, damage the car. That's better than damaging you. And then have something in the vehicle. So I have stuff on me, but I also got stuff in all my vehicles. So I have stuff that even if I'm not carrying something, there's something inside the vehicle, whether it's pepper spray, pepper gun, something that I can use to protect myself. If this person were to get access to my vehicle, I can fend them off, and then I take off from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a scary thing, and I think the biggest thing people have to do in any of these situations is that take that breath, breathe, because if you panic and freak out, it's going to make everything worse. Right. And that's a hard thing for people to do. That's probably the most important step, but it's the hardest step.
Okay. Thank you. That was helpful.
I can not panic in a situation like that and calm myself down. But what if it gets to the point where the car that's following you is like bumping into you behind you and you are now in a minor accident where you should be pulling over, but you're scared to?
Pull over somewhere safe.
I was going to say, is that where you like drive to a police station and pull over there, or like somewhere public like that?
Can you tell that we watch a lot of Law and Order in this house?
We love our like Law and Order. Oh yeah.
Good. Hey, Law and Order, they are good people over there. I would say this, like it's not necessarily like a hit and run. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take this for a grain of salt. Yes. In my opinion, if I got hit and if I got hit from a clear road rage incident, I'm definitely like it happened to my wife. She was at a red light turned green, guy starts slamming on the horn, and I mean, like, she had a car in front of her, and it was one of those people that the moment the light turns green, they're already honking. So she couldn't even go anywhere. The guy bumps into her car, then pulls up next to her and starts screaming at her, and then takes off. And she just stayed put in the car and drove to the nearest grocery store and hung out until I got there.
Okay.
And then we checked the car, everything was good, we moved on. So if it's a clear like road rage incident, don't stop.
Yeah.
Get on the phone with the police right away. Tell them, hey, this is what happened. This person just hit me, because a lot of times those cars will follow you and continue to like ram into you because they're trying to get you to stop.
They're angry.
So go somewhere public. Correct. Now, if you get hit and it's pouring rain outside, it's dark, you're not comfortable. Obviously, if I drive off, it's a hit and run type situation. You're going to have to take that kind of with like a grain of salt. Again, if it's one where you're just casually driving and all of a sudden you get hit, it's kind of suspicious. If all of a sudden I pump my brakes because of something in front of me and they hit you, like, you should know the difference of what's an accident and what's questionable.
Yeah. Okay.
If it's questionable, always get on the phone with the police, tell them what happened.
Right away.
Say, I'm not trying to run away from the incident. I'm not comfortable thinking that this was good intentions. Here's where I am. If you want to come and take a report, I'll give you all my information. And go from there. Because I have no doubt if it was a true accident, that person's also probably going to call it in and say, hey, this car just hit me and ran off. But then if you call in later
and say
you're still taking care of your information.
Exactly. Okay.
And we see the same thing if you ever get into a situation where you have to protect yourself. Like if we go back to the running trail, if you get attacked on a running trail, don't get back to your car and call 911. Get somewhere safe.
Right.
And then call
first.
911.
Right.
So, and then, yes,
always
you got to
get
get safe
yourself
first.
somewhere
so
safe.
Get somewhere comfortable. but always call 911 as well.
Okay.
Because someone, again, if it's not, they could easily turn around like, oh, this person just beat the crap out of me, or this person just hit my car.
Right.
And if you're not reporting it, it's going to hurt you in the long run.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, this is also very specific, and just like these are like the small situations I think in my head. But if my car broke down or I got a flat tire or something happened and I'm on the side of the road during the day, fine. At night and it's dark out and I'm like by myself on the side of the road, yes, I should probably just sit in my car with the doors locked until somebody comes. But like, is there anything else that I should be doing or be like aware of in a situation like that?
You can still call 911.
Okay.
Like that's what they're there for.
That's what
And
they're
people
there for.
underestimate the fact like, yes, they got a lot of stuff that they're dealing with, but again, most cops will tell you they would rather come and sit with you and hang out and wait for you. I mean, how many times if you're driving on the highway do you see somebody changing their tire and a cop's just sitting behind them?
Yes.
You know, and a lot of times cops will see that and they'll actually pull off and turn on their lights just so other people drive around them.
Right. Yeah.
And just make sure they're. But again, if you call them to say, hey, I got a flat tire, I can change it. It's a little dark. I'm not really comfortable. Can you just have an officer come to my location and just kind of hang out while I change my tire?
Right. Thank you for
More
saying
times
that.
than not, they're going to do it.
Because I think
think
my
it's
head
important.
especially, I just believe like, oh, it's for emergencies. And in my head, yes, this is
But
an
that's
emergency
but to
for
you
me.
that could be a
But
scary
here's the thing,
situation.
but here's the other.
Compared to what else they're doing.
But here's the thing: if you don't call them and you're like, I'm going to toughen it out, and you get attacked, now they have a big emergency to deal with that couldn't get prevented.
Okay.
A lot of like college campuses, you're going to have security. Security will do it. A lot of police departments nowadays have their police officers, and then they have what they call like the community officers who deal with stuff like
They
that.
do.
Okay.
So they're still in the cop car. They're just not a decorated officer, but they still work with the police department. So they can still come and escort you to your car. They can still jump start your car. They can help you change a tire, and they can be there as a protector because it still looks like a cop.
Right.
They're just not armed.
Okay.
You know?
I
But
like
they can
that.
still get on the hold of like, yep, I'm a community officer. We need you to come. So yeah, I always recommend call the police.
All right. So what if you're pulling into
Welcome.
this is another argument. What if you're pulling into a parking
like it.
garage, okay? And you're at a mall
Okay.
or an apartment building, especially when no one else is around. What precautions should you take when pulling into a garage? Where should you park?
I personally never park on the first couple floors because those are always packed. So I like to go up a little bit higher.
That makes
where
me
there's
nervous.
less vehicles because it's again, that's my preference. One, it's easier to find parking.
Yeah.
But two, less cars, so it's easier for me to see what's going on around me.
Okay.
Because if I go up and there's 2 cars in the parking garage, me and one other car, then that's the only car I'm worried about. Compared to walking into a parking garage where I'm walking past car after car after car after car after car, I don't know what's going on around me. There's too many vehicles to pay attention to. So again, that's just my preference. I will always park as close as I can to wherever it is I'm walking into. So if the exit's all the way over there, I'm parking next to that exit so that I can get into the elevator or stairwell and I can get right back to my vehicle as quickly as possible. But that way too, I can also make a mental note because there's less vehicles. I know exactly which cars are there when I get there and when I leave. And if, for instance, if you walk out and now there's an unmarked van parked next to your car,
There you go.
and you have an entire parking lot
Don't
filled,
walk over to your car.
Or sorry, if you got an entire parking lot empty and he parked right next to you, it's like, yeah,
There you
I'm gonna
go.
hold off for a minute.
Yeah.
But if it's like a packed parking lot, you're like, well, this must have been the only spot available. So it's a little bit harder when it's full. So yeah, I always go up a couple levels and take the empty spots. That's just me though.
So let me give you a scenario. I went shopping.
Okay.
I was there longer than expected. And when I left the building, it was dark and I was walking in my car alone. What do I do?
The moment you leave any location, 10 seconds. And just like drill that number in your head. Take 10 seconds, scan the parking lot,
Okay.
scan who's around you coming out of the store, see if there's anyone lingering by your car. Just kind of 10 seconds is just like a full area scan. Because again, you should be familiar enough of like, oh, that car wasn't next to me before. Is my car completely blocked by 2 big trucks? Is there a person hanging out by my car? You know, whatever the case is. Or the person that was kind of creeping me out in the store, is he next to me or not? So take 10 seconds. If something's off, go back into the store.
Got it.
If you're good, then we carry on from there. Have your keys ready. Now, if it's a key fob and you don't have to manually press the button or put the key in, then you're fine. You walk up, you put your hand on the door, it unlocks. If I need to use my keys to unlock, then my keys need to be in hand the moment I leave the store before I get to the parking lot. Because again, you don't need to be fumbling around in front of your car, distracted, trying to find your keys. If you have any suspicions, or again, like let's say you do have a key fob, but you also carry pepper spray, put the pepper spray in your hand.
Yeah.
Just carry it. You know,
Okay.
you can carry it in your hand, walk. You know, you should have something accessible. Or again, all my stuff is concealed. If I'm walking from a store to my car, I always have my right hand open because
Okay.
that's my dominant hand. So I want to make sure I can access. Excuse me. I want to make sure I can access whatever I need to. So if I'm not carrying it, my hand is available that I can easily access it if I need to.
Okay.
I'm not on my phone. I'm not distracted by any means. I'm walking confidently. I walk straight to my car. I'm going to put the stuff in the car as I need to based off what it is. Get into my car, lock the doors right away. I'm not going to unlock my car until I'm literally within reach of it. Like I'm not going to hit it from the, 100 feet away
Yeah.
and start walking up. As you approach your car, pay attention to what's underneath, what's around you. One, just for like glass bottles and stuff like that maybe you missed driving in. But also, again, if there's other people that are lingering around, because it still does happen, check your back seats. Still happens. So
Yep.
again, just kind
I
of
know.
full walk around. And again, it doesn't take long. And again, this is where people are like, oh, this is such a hassle. And it's, we're changing.
It's really situational
small
awareness.
steps.
Yeah.
It is. It's just being aware. And
Right.
again, it's more so like if I see something that's off or I feel something that's off, I have to react to it right away. I don't
Okay.
want to just let that stuff linger on. I need to deal with it, react to it right away so that, again, I can be safe. And again, if at any point something feels off, I go back in.
Yeah.
And you keep mentioning pepper spray, so I just have to bring this up quickly. There's a company called Safely that is run by two women.
Great group of girls.
They're such a great group of girls, and they make pepper spray, and it's incredible. But I did have to ask you this, and I haven't had a chance to ask them. New York and Massachusetts are the two states they can't deliver to.
Yep.
Why? And what do we? Why can't
Why?
we deliver to Massachusetts and New
I
York?
couldn't tell you why. It's
crazy.
I get a lot of people that ask about some of the stuff that I post about, and they're in like other countries. They're like, yeah, we can't carry anything. And like, there's other countries that don't even allow you to have a knife.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you can't carry anything on your person. So no, it's crazy. You just have to find alternatives.
Okay.
Like that's the unfortunate reality. Again, it's like this is just a reality. Like people are pushing, and I mean, as we all know, there's a lot of people, including Safely, that are pushing to get this changed.
Yeah,
so that
and to
people
help
can start carrying
and to
stuff in
help
those.
us. Right.
Exactly. But until that happens, we just have to accept the fact of like, okay, what can I do instead?
Right.
Can I carry a blade? Can I make a makeshift self-defense weapon?
Yeah.
Is there
My
other
mom
options
used
that
to
I
tell
have
me-
that I can use to protect myself?
My mom used to tell me, and there's not even keys anymore because it's a fob. But I used to stick my key. I'm aging myself,
in
right?
between your
Stick my key in
fingers.
between my middle finger
Everyone
and walk
says
like
that
this.
one. No, I don't
I've
have
just
keys on
aged
there.
myself by 100 years, right?
No, that's what everyone. I get that question almost every single class.
Okay.
That will destroy your hands.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we either tell people to
Okay.
hold your keys like you would a knife. So I have like a knife sticking on the end.
Yeah, like out.
Or if you're carrying like a keychain or a lanyard, hold on to the lanyard, and now I can use the keys as like a whip,
Got
and then
it.
I can smack you with the keys.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, don't carry the keys with me. But yeah, you're just gonna have to kind of get creative and find other ways, or you got to take the step and learn how to fight.
All
Okay.
right.
All right, well, switching it up a little bit, I was abroad all last semester, and that was an amazing experience. But I spent a lot of time
is one bad
traveling
one.
and in the airports and traveling by myself and meeting up with different people. So, are there any like top 3 tips that you have for when you are traveling alone, how to be safe and just like be aware of your surroundings?
I'll give you 6. with
Okay,
2 different categories.
amazing.
I'll give
Okay.
you. I'll give you 3. I'll give you 3 things that I'll give you 3 things that you can carry anywhere in the world.
Okay.
That you should have on you.
Okay.
I don't care for this a ton, but it is still good to have on you. Personal alarm,
Okay.
so that I can draw attention, and that's really the only purpose of it is to draw attention. It's not going to scare people off.
Yeah.
It may, but it'll draw attention. Doorstop alarms. Anything that you can do to lock. Because again, depending on where you're traveling to, like my wife and I go to Europe or have been going to Europe more often. They don't have the best doors in all those places.
They do not.
So some of them are very flimsy locks.
Yeah.
So having like a personal door alarm that
Okay.
not only stops the door from opening, but triggers an alarm. I can carry that anywhere. And a flashlight. Probably one of the most underrated self-defense weapons.
On your
Because what it
phone
does
or a
is not
separate
only- obviously,
flashlight?
flashlight, like flashlight, like
Okay.
a small
Like a
little bag.
handheld like
Because-
flashlight.
Yes. Because not only is it good for nighttime, but it blinds the shit out of people. So that
Oh.
allows me to see everything that you're doing while you can't see anything that I'm doing.
Yep.
It gives me time to make space. It gives me time to access something. And then if you get close enough, because most of them have rigid edges now, it's a weapon.
That's
So I
brilliant.
can actually use it as a blunt object
Love
to
it.
make space. So flashlights are probably like one of the top items I have.
Well,
Love
it
it.
would have been good
In
to know
regards to
this before she
safety-
left.
Yeah. Well, next time.
Next time, I'll be back.
3 things that you can do for traveling. 1, upload all your personal documents, scan them, and email them to you.
Yep.
Okay,
Passports, IDs, credit cards, everything.
Yep.
Because if any of that gets stolen, you can log into your email on anything.
We did that.
So that way you can still
do that.
pull up the document. So upload all that stuff. Carry multiple credit cards, but different pockets.
Oh.
Different pockets.
Okay.
Reason being is 1, obviously if people pickpocket you, you have
Yes.
another one. But if people scan one and you have to cancel it unexpectedly,
Then
Yeah.
sometimes it'll get notified right away. Like we had one of our cards scanned when we were in Italy. We didn't find out till like a month later. And I just all of a sudden had a ton of charges start kicking in. They didn't do it right away. But if they do it immediately and you have to cancel it,
Yeah.
and that's your only credit card, you're screwed.
you're
Or if they're both together, they're going to get both of them. So have them
Yeah.
in separate pockets. They also have, I have like a wallet that blocks connection, so you
Scanners.
can't physically read them.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can get something like that. So so upload your stuff, keep your stuff in separate pockets, and always have someone that you're keeping in touch with. I think that's just a good one that people could get better about.
Yeah.
My wife and I tend to go off the beat path quite often when we travel, but we will always text somebody first thing in the morning saying, here's where we're going, here's what our plan is for
Yep.
today. And then we'll have checkpoints where we'll check in periodically. And if you don't hear from us at some point, something's off. And it may not be right away. It's not like every 2 hours we're checking in, but we will check in at some point. And
Yeah.
then at least if something happens to us, well, they were going to this today.
Yeah.
I think those are 3 things that people could do really well. But pickpocketing is huge.
Yes,
Okay.
So
huge.
definitely, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of things you can do to battle pickpocketing, but I think just having multiple credit cards, different pockets, and have some cash.
Especially
But
being in
cash is like-
Barcelona, I went through that.
Yeah.
And yes, I 100% agree
Yeah.
about cash. I think it's just good to have in general. And then also the pickpocketing.
Cash is one of those. I talked to a Navy SEAL who said cash is probably one of the best things to carry when abroad because it's accepted everywhere.
Everywhere.
And you can get out of some pretty shady situations if
With
you find
cash.
yourself in a bad situation. Cash can get you out of it. Now that being
Exactly.
said, if you're buying stuff out there, use your credit cards most of the time
Yeah.
because it's just safer rather than like fumbling through cash.
It's more like your
Always have cash.
emergency
I always-
money.
Exactly. Yes. And I always keep it in like a hidden pocket, so I won't touch it unless we need it.
Yeah.
This is great. This is
good.
great tips. All right, so we're going to end with a few questions from our listeners that they submitted.
Okay.
So the first one
for
is
it.
Lily from New York. She wanted to know, what do I do if I'm alone in an elevator with someone who's making me uncomfortable? Do I still get off on my own floor?
No. Sorry.
Don't answer for him.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I would not. I would also let them go. Here, we're going to be doing some elevator segments at some point. I just got to find an elevator that I can.
Because I think about that a lot, actually.
You got to find an elevator you
Yeah,
can
it's-
play around with.
There's creepy people
Yeah,
sometimes
you
in
gotta
an
find one that-
elevator, and I
We
get
gotta
off.
find- Yeah, I've got some pretty wild videos of some elevator situations, but yeah, I mean, it's one that I want to put my back to a wall.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ever like stand and have my back to the person. So even if I'm closer to the door, I'm going to turn and almost face you. So
Oh,
if
yeah,
my
I
back are to
always
the numbers
stand with my
now,
back to a wall.
I'm going to face
Yep.
you. So I always want to face whoever else is in the elevator with me.
Okay.
If we're getting on the floor and a lot of times like they'll just push, or if you get on, you could ask them first, hey, what floor are you going to?
Yeah.
And let them answer first. And then
And
if
then
they
press
push,
something.
3, press something different. Even if you are on 3, or let's say you're on floor 2, you can put it on like 4 or something. Like just put yourself on a different floor and then go back down.
Okay.
If you're uncomfortable or you get bad vibes, you don't even get on the elevator in the first place. Or as the doors are closing, like, oh, I forgot something, and put my hands out
Yeah.
and got on from there.
Okay. Thank
So,
you.
yeah,
Great.
That's my big thing. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so Lisa from Arizona would like to know about being in crowded places, like a concert or a club where there is lots of pushing. What strategies can you recommend to avoid dangers like the stampedes or being run over or all of that, like stress in an environment?
So if you're, let's just use a concert venue or something like that as an example.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes. So we had the 10-second rule. This is a 5-minute rule. Know where your exits are right away. Every venue is going to have multiple exits and multiple entrances. Know where they are. That includes side stairwells, elevators, anything. Because when panic hits the floor, and I know
chaos.
99% of the people haven't paid attention to where all the side exits are, everyone's going to the main entrance.
Yep.
I'm not trying to follow that crowd. I'm not trying to get smushed in that crowd. I'm not trying to get stampeded in that crowd. I'm going to immediately track off to another exit. And depending on where we are, I should already know whichever exit's closer to me. And then in addition to that, I'm marking the safest path to get there. What people are in the way? What objects are in the way? Is there a rope or something that I'm going to have to climb over or under? Do I have to get through a booth? Whatever the case is, I should have an exit mapped out to be like, yep, that's where we're going. If something hits the fan, we're going straight there. Pay attention to, still what's going on around you. Try and keep your back or position yourself where you can see a lot. And just keep an eye, enjoy the concert, show, whatever. But I will still kind of glance around. Even if we're sitting in an auditorium watching a comedian, I will still glance around periodically and just see what are people doing, because those are the situations where people are going to take advantage of the fact that everyone's looking in one direction, nobody's paying attention. So I'll still kind of look around. Rule of thumb, if everyone hits the floor, hit the floor. If everyone starts running, move. Don't be like, oh, what's going on? It's like, if everyone's moving, move.
That was very helpful.
Like, that's time for a game plan.
Right.
But yeah, those are just some, again, you can go into the whole thing on that, but those are just kind of some quick ones for you.
Okay. This is my last one. Jessica from Boston wants to know, if I'm going on a first date and I haven't met the guy in person before, what safety precautions should I take?
Stalk him.
You could, find out everything you can.
Find out everything you need to know.
Stalk him.
I mean, granted, social media is a beautiful thing. You can find out a lot about people on social media, but FaceTime, if that's an option, like say like, oh, hey, could we FaceTime and like have a, because at this point, I would assume you've probably have talked on the phone at some point.
Right.
I haven't been dating in a long time, so I don't imagine that people just text and be like, hey, let's just go on a first date. Like,
no, they do.
I'm sure there's a phone call. So
I will say, at least
if
with the college life, that's not necessarily true. People will just text for a week or two.
dating apps.
And just show up somewhere. Or have a dating app.
Okay.
And
so I would encourage people, I would encourage people to, obviously, if you're already talking on the phone, FaceTime.
Yeah.
And just be like, yo, can I FaceTime you real quick? And just kind of get to know you a little bit more and just have that next step. Always meet at a public place.
Yep.
And meet at the public place. Never have the person come and pick you up. Never have the person know where you live or drop you off. And like, you always want to make sure that you have your own ride there. Even if you don't have a car, like you want to have your own means of getting there and leaving there on your own without being dependent upon this person.
Yep.
So go to a public setting. Make sure that people know where you're going. So have someone that you trust, know where you're at. Have them check in with you. And it could just be like they just send you a code word, and if you respond with the same word back or something, right away that they need to come pick you up or they need to call you and give an excuse. But even there, if you feel uncomfortable at the date, just leave.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to be rude in those situations where if I feel uncomfortable, I don't have to be rude verbally about it. I can just be like, you know what? I'm not feeling this date. I'm
not feeling it.
I appreciate you taking me out. I'm just going to kind of end things here. I just got to go.
Yep. Ella and I have an emoji.
And you can be blunt.
Yeah, you could send a little quick emoji and then I call and I'll say, hey, and I know how to get her out of the situation.
So, I mean, stuff like that goes a long way.
Yeah. It's
okay.
good.
Rapid fire.
All right, I was about to say, so we end with some rapid fire questions. We do it with every one of our guests.
Okay.
Quick questions.
So it just really quick questions. You can give like sentence, 2-sentence like word answers about like what you think.
Okay.
Okay. So.
Okay.
Should you be sharing your locations with your friends?
I don't with my friends. I share it with my wife only.
Okay.
But if you're in college,
I guess trusted people.
The people
college, if you have a trusted, have a trusted group. I think that's absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain the effectiveness of safety jewelry such as Invisiwear? Do you recommend wearing them every day?
I have my Invisiwear keychain on my car keys.
Yep.
So it comes with me every day. I think everyone should have that. If you're not big on the jewelry part, the keychain's perfect.
That's
but again, it's a hidden panic alarm. So again, if something's off, and again, it's programmed initially to just alert your friends,
right,
or whoever your contacts are. It doesn't go right to 911 right away. So if you're worried about that, it's like that could be your code word out of like, oh, she just pinged us. We need to go get her.
Exactly.
That's great.
Because I've also, side note, I accidentally triggered mine once. And was at training and didn't have my phone, and my phone was blowing up with my family being like, what's wrong? What happened to David? Because I wasn't responding. Like, my bad. I accidentally triggered it. I'm good.
Nice to know it works.
You would rather have that than
I'm glad that I'm glad they jumped in on it.
Exactly.
I've talked about this a lot because of Ella's personal experience having her drink spiked. Yes. But what precautions should you be taking to prevent drink spiking at a social event? other than having a nightcap
this
on
is
your drink?
this is huge.
Huge.
This is huge.
And an epidemic right now.
And again, oh yeah. And I mean, like this, the stuff you would see at college campuses, it's insane. And how easy it is. Obviously, nightcap's gonna be huge. One, don't accept drinks from people you don't know. Period. I don't care who you are.
Right.
And even friends, like it's hard to even trust drinks from friends. And again, I have like very few people that I will actually accept. When I was in college, I had very few people that I would actually, and I didn't drink much, but if a couple of my friends said, "Hey, do you want a drink?" Sure. If other people asked me if I wanted, like, yeah, I'll come to the bar and get one with you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't, not that I didn't trust them, but I didn't have that relationship with them. So if you're not 100% trustworthy of the person, or you don't know them at all, don't accept a drink from them. Never leave your drink unattended. If you're out drinking and you leave your drink unattended, you can afford another drink. If not, don't go out drinking.
100%.
Yep.
You can afford to buy another drink. If not, then you shouldn't be out drinking anyways. So buy a new drink. If you're out on a first date, I'm not saying that you have to like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom and you just shotgun your drink real quick and go to the bathroom. But you could just be like, you know what? When you come back, like, no, I'm good. I don't need. I'll just have some water, and just have them refill your water, or something, and just be done with the drink. Little things like that, or just don't overdo it. I think that's the other thing. Don't overdo it with your drinking, because if you drink a couple drinks and it gets aggressive at first, and then people see that you're drinking a lot,
right?
Now you're already in a position where you're not thinking clearly.
Exactly.
That's very rarely you're gonna have someone that gives you a spiked drink right out of the gate.
Yeah.
They're gonna wait till you're comfortable. They're gonna wait till you've already had a few and you're less willing to turn it down. Here's another drink.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much for all this incredible information.
I appreciate you two having me.
We love having you
like,
here.
I just feel like everyone needs to hear this kind of stuff.
Yes.
And I agree with the fact that you say that you don't think it happens until it happens to you or somebody that you know. And I'm not going to lie,
talk about
but
it all the time.
that is truly how I felt until my drink was spiked. And so now that I have gone through that experience, I just want to explain that to other people so they don't have to experience anything towards the way that I felt. So
how does our audience find you online?
Yes.
David Heineman 90.
Amazing.
You can find that pretty much. Mostly, if you want more personal stuff or stuff along these lines, Instagram's gonna be the best option. That's where I'm kind of posting tips and
my favorite videos.
It's a little bit longer. I appreciate it. But no, I appreciate you two having me on here.
Thank you. Thanks again for being here.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. And next time we'll be back with another incredible guest. In the meantime, keep being real.
Keep being you.
And know that we've got your back. If you have any thoughts, questions, or just want to say hi, we would love to hear from you. Your support means everything to us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Chasing Red Flags Official, and on Facebook and YouTube at Chasing Red Flags. And if you want to share your story, ask a question, or pick up some Chasing Red Flags merch, go to chasingredflags.com. The Chasing Red Flags podcast is produced by Jay Del Turco. We are new in this space, so if you enjoyed what you're hearing, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or add a comment and like on our YouTube channel.